Welcome to my female fitness guide. There are so many myths floating around in the health and fitness space, but particularly myths targeting women. So today we're talking all things women's fitness, myths versus reality. I asked you guys for questions over on my Instagram, so if you'd like to submit questions for the next video, I do like this one, make sure to follow me over there. We're gonna go through all of those questions today, plus all of the common myths that I hear and questions that I frequently get. First one, does caffeine really improve athletic performance? This one is true. I personally never do my workouts decaf, but for this one, it really does come down to personal preference. So there are some people that aren't caffeine adapted, and having caffeine makes them feel kind of anxious or jittery. And if you are one of those people, it might make sense to avoid caffeine. As long as you feel good having caffeine and you're not having it too late in the day, because that can disrupt your sleep, it actually is very helpful for your workouts. So next up, does fasted training burn more fat than fed training? This one is a huge myth. I think the easiest way to understand this is to think of calories like a math equation, because it is just a math equation. Let's say that you eat breakfast before you train, and that breakfast is 500 calories. Then you go do your workout and you burn 200 calories. Your net calories by this point in the day is 300, right? Because it's the 500 from breakfast minus the 200 that you burned in your workout. Let's say that you do the opposite. So you go burn 200 calories in your workout, then you come home and eat a breakfast of 500 calories. Your net calories is still 300. You just did it in a little bit of a different order. The cool thing about calories in and calories out is that you can eat at any time of the day, and if your calories are the same, your outcomes are going to be the same. Honestly, that's probably for the best, because I am a nighttime snacker, and if that was really a problem, I would be in a bad spot. A big one that I hear is that women need to do low weight, high reps when they are lifting weights. And this is absolutely not true. You could even argue that women need to do the opposite, because strength training, so lifting heavy and really pushing yourself with that low reps, high weight, is so important for building that bone density, building muscle, being strong and powerful, which are all essential for longevity. So how long we live, but also how healthy our life is. I personally like to vary my weights and rep ranges. So for example, maybe for a couple weeks, I'd focus more on strength, where I'm doing heavy weights, lower reps. Then I would move more into hypertrophy, so 8 to 12 rep ranges, moderate weight. Then maybe I'll move into the lower weight, higher rep range. Each one has unique benefits and adaptations and can be positive for your body, but I do think if you focus on one only, you kind of lose out on some of the potential benefits. A lot of people have the idea that lifting heavy will make you look bulky, which actually isn't true. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Next one, does HIIT increase your cortisol levels? And this is something I've been seeing everywhere, and it frustrates me to no end. This is false, but I do have a caveat. This is definitely possible if you overdo it. I wish I could give you an exact number of sessions per week, but it really does come down to you as an individual and what you're able to recover from and what your immune system can handle. So personally, I can do maybe 1 or 2 high intensity sessions a week, and anything more than that, I really struggle to recover. I would definitely recommend kind of building up to it slowly and figuring out what's gonna work for you, and maybe trying to push and increase the length of your sessions or how frequently you're doing high intensity sessions. But high intensity training is amazing for you in the right doses. It's first of all really great bang for your buck, so you're able to get a lot of adaptations, burn a lot of calories, and just get a lot done in a short period of time. It is amazing for your cardiovascular health, for your heart. It's really good at helping you improve your VO2 max, which is one of the main indicators of how long we're going to live, just your kind of overall cardio fitness. So should we be doing 5 or 6 high intensity cardio sessions a week? Probably not, but sprinkling in a little bit of high intensity training is so important. It's underrated. We need to bring HIIT back into style in the right balance. Next one, do women need to eat before training? This is an interesting one. There seems to be some debate in the scientific community about this right now, so it's something I'm gonna keep my eyes on. It'll be interesting to see how the research develops over the next couple years, but as of now, I definitely recommend testing different things out and seeing what feels best and works best for you. And I'd be curious to hear about your experience down in the comments, because personally, I get nauseous if I eat before training, so I tend to avoid it unless I absolutely have to. There are a few caveats though. So for the case of endurance training, anything over 90 minutes, you do need fuel, because otherwise your body will literally run out of energy. If you're going for max strength or maximum performance on that day, fueling can increase your weight and reps for strength training by like a few percent. Last one before we get into today's ab workout is kind of this myth around the best way to train your abs. So if you search up an ab workout on YouTube, you'll probably see something that's like about 10 minutes long with 10 exercises, 1 minute each, no breaks in between. This is a muscular endurance style of training where you're challenging the muscle to hold a position or repeat a movement at a low intensity for a longer period of time. A lot of people think that's the best way to build your abs and get ab definition, which is actually not true. So if you want to get visible abs, which I know is a goal that a lot of us have, the most effective way to do that is using hypertrophy training, with each set going until failure or close to failure, so the point that you can't continue, resting between sets just like you would with a normal weightlifting workout, adding weight, so using a dumbbell or a cable or something if the intensity is too low and you can do tons and tons of reps. What a lot of people don't think about when it comes to abs is that increasing the size of your abs by building muscle mass in that area makes it easier to get visible abs because you don't have to get to as low of a body fat percentage to see those abs showing through. Okay, that is enough chatting. Let's get into today's workout. And that is my ab workout for today. Very simple, very effective, very challenging if you're really pushing yourself to failure with every set. Workouts do not need to be complicated to be effective. In fact, I think the opposite is often true. In my experience, simple workouts where you're really focused and intentional with every movement, getting that mind-muscle connection, so thinking about the area that you're targeting, staying slow and controlled, I find those workouts to be very, very hard. Next myth, do you need protein right after a workout? The answer to this is sort of. We definitely want to get protein in as soon as possible after a workout, but you do have a few hours to get that protein in to help with muscle protein synthesis, which is essentially just your body rebuilding that muscle after doing any kind of weight training or anything like that. In the next couple hours afterwards, you definitely want to prioritize both protein and carbs. A lot of people don't realize that carbs are really important for refueling after a workout session, so my two favorite post-workout meals or snacks are either a protein smoothie or a Greek yogurt bowl. It's a good opportunity to throw a little bit of fruit in there for some micronutrients, some fiber. So let's go make a quick yogurt bowl. Almost too pretty to eat, but not quite. Okay, let's get into our next few topics. I'm seeing this narrative on social media that if you want a lean and toned body, you should not be lifting weights or hitting the gym or doing anything high intensity. And that is just not at all how that works. Looking lean and toned is a combination of two things: body fat percentage and muscle mass. And there are plenty of people out there who have a Pilates looking physique that are lifting weights at the gym. And yeah, it has nothing to do with Pilates. It simply has to do with controlling your body fat percentage and your muscle mass to achieve the look that you're going for. Higher impact training like lifting weights, getting strong, lifting heavy. Those kinds of workouts are so important for women in particular. I hate this trend that we're seeing that they're bad for you. They're gonna spike your cortisol. They're gonna make you inflamed. The truth of the matter is high intensity training is important. Just make sure that you are able to recover from the amount of training that you're doing. And if you're finding it to be too much or not able to recover, dial it back a little bit and build up to it slowly. Another huge trend on social media right now, cycle syncing. So should we be syncing our workouts based on where we are in our menstrual cycle? I think being in tune with our own bodies and how we feel is one of the most powerful tools to create a sustainable, consistent routine. So I kind of hate this idea that cycle syncing prescribes a certain training routine and certain difficulty levels based on where you are in your cycle, because truly we all experience menstrual cycles so differently. So yeah, I'm a little bit anti-cycle syncing just because I don't think we should be prescribing intensity levels from any kind of program, and rather encouraging people to adjust their intensity levels based on how they're feeling. So I definitely recommend listening to your body, and I think that is the reason why so many people are finding cycle syncing beneficial, because it is kind of encouraging them to be more in tune with that. But truly, I think we are all responsible for pushing ourselves and giving everything we have that day, right? My 100% effort today might be very different than it was last week when I was just getting back from a trip. I was tired, I was getting over a cold, whatever. Last topic for now that I wanted to chat about is whether or not women should be getting in their 10,000 steps and walking. There's nothing magical about getting 10,000 steps in particular. It's actually more of a marketing thing than anything, but getting your steps in is so important. Just whatever you can fit into your day is so beneficial. For the last couple weeks, I've been going on 2 walks a day, each about like 20 to 30 minutes. So I know that's kind of a lot, but I have been feeling so incredible doing this. I think there are a lot of opportunities to fit walking into your daily routine in ways that it's not really interrupting. So for example, my boyfriend and I used to sit and drink our coffee together every morning, and now we'll just go on a walk and drink our coffee together and chat. I also love walking on my walking pad and working. I will link the one I have down in the description. It's pretty affordable, honestly, and it has been such an incredible investment. Anyway, huge fan of walking, and I actually don't think it's overhyped. I think it is appropriately hyped. Want to hear a little YouTube behind the scenes? So this morning I filmed 40 minutes of footage for this video and realized afterwards that I had a huge makeup faux pas. It was really bad. So I fixed my makeup. I had a spoonful of peanut butter to make myself feel better, had a little bit more caffeine, and we're gonna try this again. Second time's a charm. So let's get straight into it. We're gonna start with building muscle. First question, do women need to strength train? The answer is yes, 1000%, absolutely, yes, yes, yes. If you're in your 20s and 30s watching this, now is the best time to start strength training and lifting weights, because in our 20s and 30s is when we develop most of our bone density that will last the rest of our life. There's never a bad time to start lifting weights though. The best day to start is always today. Strength training is one of the best things that you can do to live a long and healthy life. I hate this idea that weightlifting is for men, for getting bulky, for getting jacked, that's not the case at all. And actually, let's just jump straight into that. Does weight training make you bulky? Getting bulky is a full-time job, okay? Building muscle requires a lot of time and energy, okay? You need to be hitting your resistance training workouts, pushing yourself near failure during those workouts. You need to be hitting your protein hard. Often in a calorie surplus, there's some ways around that, but usually you need to be tracking and kind of making sure you're getting enough fuel to actually build that muscle. So odds of accidentally getting bulky, especially as a woman, very, very small. But let's say that you do accidentally get bulky. There's an easy fix for that. You can just dial back your training volume and purposefully choose to lose some of that muscle, which I hate even saying because the idea of losing any muscle on purpose is like hard for me to ever imagine because I have to work so hard for every little bit of muscle that I put on. I do not find it easy. The idea of that is kind of insane to me, but I know if some people have that goal, that's totally fine. It's up to you. The way I like to think about this is why don't we get too bulky first and then deal with it if we have that problem, because likelihood is you're not gonna have that issue. I know for women getting into the gym for the first time lifting weights, I can understand how that would be a concern, but it's a lot harder than you think. Okay, let's chat about whether body recomposition, so losing fat and building muscle at the same time, is possible. Short answer is yes, it's possible, but there are quite a few important caveats. It's much easier for beginners to do a body recomp or anyone who's kind of coming back to weightlifting after some time off. It's also easier when you're at a higher body fat percentage because your body can use the existing fat on your frame as fuel to build that muscle. So if you're not a beginner, you're not coming back after time off, and you have a low body fat percentage, you still can do a body recomp. You just need to really dial in a few factors. It's also going to be a lot slower process, so it's important to kind of set expectations there. You need to be focusing on your resistance training, so working hard at your weightlifting workouts and prioritizing those, eating high protein, and being in a slight calorie deficit, because if you're in too much of a calorie deficit, your body doesn't have enough fuel to actually build that muscle. Let's chat briefly about getting toned, because I feel like the word toned has become such a red flag for me because I see so much misinformation online about what it means to get toned and how you actually get there. So let's break it down really simple. Getting toned comes down to two factors: your body fat percentage, so how much fat you have over your muscles, as well as the amount of muscle mass that you have. A lot of people online will say you need to do this workout or this rep range to get toned, or eat this diet. And for the most part, that's actually not true. And all you need to do is worry about those two factors we talked about. And it'll really depend on your body, your physique, and what you need to do to achieve that look, right? But it's not a particular workout or a particular style of training that's gonna achieve that look. It all just comes down to moderating your body composition. Next question, what is the best workout split for women? The short answer is that it really just depends. And I know that's annoying, but training is truly really goal specific first and foremost, but also specific to your preferences, your schedule, how much time you have, where you prefer to train, and what your body can handle and sufficiently recover from. That's a super annoying answer though. So I'm gonna share the workout split that I'm currently using and the workout split that I used in my workout program, Ignite. And as always, I will link 7 days free from the guide in the description in case you wanna download that. Try the workouts out. I also will have the full guide link down below. The program is designed specifically for women with a busy schedule. So if you're finding it difficult to fit your sessions in, but you wanna get maximum results in minimal time. So if that sounds like you, then you might wanna give this workout split a try, because it's personally the one that I love. I feel my best, I look my best, and it's the most realistic to fit into my schedule. So here's the weekly split: 1 lower body lift and 1 upper body lift, 1 mobility, flexibility, or Pilates flow. So something that's lower impact, getting the blood flowing, but something that can be done at home with no equipment, so that if you wanna save some time driving to and from the gym, just squeeze this workout in, on your lunch break if you're working from home, or in the morning before you head off for the day, whatever. 1 high intensity interval training workout. So this is something that will get get your heart rate up, really good for your cardiovascular system, your VO2 max. Cardio is so important, and I feel like it's not trending right now to be doing cardio workouts, which is crazy because it's so important for your health. And for the last session in the week, I like to mix things up and keep things interesting by changing it up with different challenges. So this might be an AMRAP or rep challenge. It might be more of a recovery day. I like to just vary this based on how I'm feeling, how much energy I have, and cover anything I felt was missing across my week. Speaking of, let's pick today's workout. The first few lifting workouts of this guide have become staples for me. They're simple, they're efficient. I just find myself coming back to these over and over. So I thought it would be fun to share one of those workouts with you. I think I'm gonna keep it simple and go for the week 1 lower body session. So I'll show you what that looks like in case you wanna give it a try at home. And after that, we're gonna chat a little bit about fat loss. In between sets of those lunges, I checked my phone and I'd gotten a text from someone, so I read it, I got distracted, and I did the same like twice. And I was doing my second set like, oh, this is really hard, like this is weird. Okay, let's do that one more time. Team, I cannot make this up. I just used the wrong weight. I have to give credit where it's due. For a while, I thought these hairbands were a scam, but they actually do prevent getting a kink in your hair. So if you want to like put your hair up temporarily and then take it out, not have a bump, these are great. So, okay, let's chat fat loss. And I'm gonna do a part 2 of this video where we talk about nutrition and we'll dive into that side of things, calorie deficit, diets, intermittent fasting, all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see that video. But let's talk about the fitness side of things when it comes to fat loss. Starting off strong, do we burn more calories during our period? The answer is sort of. So we're burning more calories during our luteal phase, which is before our period actually starts. Most women burn anywhere from 100 to 300 calories a day extra, but it does vary person to person. So if you're feeling hungrier leading up to or at the beginning of your period, that's totally normal, and it might be because of this increased calorie burn. It's obviously very individual and personal whether you actually want to adjust what you're eating during this time, but I think it is kind of comforting to know that if you're having an extra snack here and there or whatever, it's not the end of the world because your body is actually working a little bit harder during that phase leading up to the start of your period. Next up is the age-old question of, can you spot reduce fat? I wish I could give you a different answer here because that would be great if we could choose the areas of our body that we wanted to target for fat loss, but when it comes to exercising or nutrition, you cannot spot reduce fat. For example, doing an ab workout won't burn belly fat. I wish it was that simple. We'll talk about this more in the follow-up nutrition video, but what it really comes down to is just a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. So if you're eating more calories than you burn, you'll gain weight. If you're burning more calories than you eat, you'll lose weight. And where we tend to store our body fat can come down to our gender as well as our genetics. For example, women tend to store more fat on their hips. It's just a genetic lottery. It is what it is, and there's not much we can do about it besides controlling our body fat percentage overall, and of course, building muscle in the areas that we want to appear larger. Next one, are abs really made in the kitchen? So I would say this is mostly true. Getting visible abs comes down to 2 components, right? So it's the amount of muscle mass you have in that area and how much body fat you have on top of it. And like we just talked about, body fat does come down to genetics. Maybe you tend to store a little bit more fat on your belly. You will need to get to an even lower body fat percentage to be able to see those abs showing through. Now, one thing you can do to make this easier, build up the amount of muscle mass you have in that area, because the more muscle you have, the easier you'll be able to see it through, even if you're at a little bit higher of a body fat percentage. But if you don't have very much muscle, you're gonna have to get quite lean to be able to see that muscle showing through. If you're already naturally really lean or you like staying really lean, then you don't have to worry so much about building that muscle up. But if you're like myself and you don't like staying super super lean. I definitely have to work on and focus on building up those ab muscles to be able to see them through. I would agree that for the most part, it comes down to managing your nutrition. It can be quite challenging to maintain that level of leanness. So on to our final topic for this video. Is cardio the best method of fat loss? There's this idea floating around that if you want to lose weight, you need to be doing tons and tons of cardio, you know, putting on your sweatsuit and getting your steps in, walking on the Stairmaster. I actually think this is mostly false. I personally think a hybrid style of training is the best method of supporting your fat loss. I like to do a lot of low intensity cardio because it's easy to recover from and it's not shown to really increase your hunger signals. I like to sprinkle in one higher intensity cardio session during the week, but it's really important to lift weights during fat loss, in my opinion, because it prevents muscle loss, which is one of the biggest downsides of losing weight. The best way to prevent muscle loss is to make sure you're eating high protein and that you're continuing to lift weights. So showing your body like, hey, don't use this muscle up for fuel. We're using this muscle. We need this muscle. You know what I'm saying? And lifting weights is also important for maintaining bone strength during fat loss, which is also a concern. You don't need to do cardio to lose weight. It can be a tool in your toolkit. But yeah, for most of us, it's going to really come down to food and nutritional choices rather than exercise when it comes to losing weight. One last thing I wanted to mention. Women's health research is so underfunded. There's a lot we still don't know when it comes to the female body, but we do have access to more information than we ever have, which is so exciting. And there are so many incredible research teams out there working to close that gap between men's and women's health research. It makes me feel really hopeful for the future. I'm just so excited to keep learning and growing together and sharing everything that I learn with you all. So I would also love to continue this series in the future. So if there's anything that you'd like me to address in a future video, leave a comment and let me know. I had so much fun making this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to subscribe because I upload new videos every week, and I will see you next time.